The Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.
Good evening, welcome to Face the Nation. My name is Edgar Mathew Karuhanga. This evening, I have one of the counsels and lawyers of Dr. Kiiza Besigye as he's facing trials in the General Court Martial, Counsel Eron Kiiza. You're most welcome, sir.
Thank you. It's my deep delight to be with you.
Great. And always giving us an opportunity to be here. Let's start off. This week, you were in court and Dr. Besigye was appearing before the General Court Martial for the third time. How was the experience therein?
Yeah, the experience in a military kangaroo tribunal is always not one to write home about.
Yes.
But we are still facing resistance from the military establishment, which is the Trojan horse from Museveni's political persecution of his political opponents. He has decided to repress, silence his leading critic, Kiiza Besigye, by slapping fabricated charges of being in possession of ammunition against him and Haji Rutali, his comrade, with whom they went to Kenya for a book launch of Honorable Edgar Mathew, who is a senior counsel, a senior politician in Kenya, and who has applied for a temporary license to practice law in Uganda and represent Kiiza Besigye. The Law Council, in a political move, has declined her application, citing illegal, irrelevant, and flimsy considerations which are not consonant with the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda.
You call them flimsy, you say the lead counsel is...
Because they are unhappy with her politics. That's not a legal basis for rejecting an application for a temporary political license. They are annoyed. They think she has a political agenda. Our position is that it is okay to have a political agenda, but for her to execute her political agenda, she doesn't need the temporary practicing license. She didn't apply to practice politics. She applied to practice law, and they should have confined themselves to that. The Law Council is not supposed to draw material from the media for their action and inaction. And,
so is it wrong for them to refuse, because it's in their prerogative
it is
to
not
either
only
deny
wrong,
or
it is not
confirm?
only wrong, it's illegal and unconstitutional to refuse to deny her a certificate basing on political considerations.
They say you are too many. You are too many. Everybody is trying to shine on this case.
Why are they annoyed with people shining? That's...
Do you know, you're trying to say that they are more than enough, or more than 40 lawyers are enough
the
to
numbers are
defend two
determined
people.
by the accused, not the fence-sitting, armchair bureaucrats of the Law Council.
They say that Karua is not going to add anything to what
That
you
is
and
ignorance from the Law
Mayor
Council.
is
That's
doing.
ignorance from the Law Council. They don't know who Karua is, and they also don't know what Besigye wants. It is Besigye and Rutare who will determine the relevance, the usefulness, and the value that the Mathew Karua brings to this case, and not the armchair bureaucrats of the Law Council.
Does the missing of Mathew Karua affect you in any way?
Profoundly, it is injurious to the interests of our clients who have chosen her to lead the charge against the political persecution, against the civilian duo in a kangaroo military tribunal. She brings immense international legal experience. This is a cross-border case that is consequent upon cross-border or extraterritorial abduction and extraordinary rendition from Kenya to Uganda, and the infusion of legal talent from across Africa is paramount.
That's the only reason, or there are more?
The other reason is, of course, that it is the privilege, the fundamental human right of the accused a fair hearing and choose who their lawyers are, how many lawyers they get. It is not up to the Law Council to pick lawyers for SJ and Rutare.
Mathew Karua is going to be, purportedly should be one of the witnesses, or may be one of the witnesses in that case.
That is
also
their dreamland. That is in their dreamland. They don't call our witnesses. the Besigye knows his witnesses.
From their side, they can call him as a witness. They can call her as a witness.
The prosecution has not indicated so, and unless the law council has information, we don't.
Okay. There is also a document that is coming from the Kenya Law Society, and these people are saying that they can even bar.
Kenya is rightly incensed by the unwise decision, illegal decision, unconstitutional and unconscionable decision of the law council. So how they retaliate is up to them, and they have a full range of arsenal with which to get back to the Ugandan legal fraternity. We shall engage them. We hope that their reaction is not extreme.
What do you think about the reaction itself as Counsel Eron Kiiza?
They have said what they may do. They have not cast in stone what they are going to do. But what is unmistakable is their outrage at the incompetence with which the Law Society went about its job and at the spineless, unhinged decision by the Law Council.
Good. You're still watching Face the Nation. I'm still with Counsel Eron Kiiza, one of the advocates that are defending Dr. Kiiza Besigye in the trials that are happening in the General Court Martial. Let's delve into the conversation in the court itself. You had a basis that civilians shouldn't be tried in the military tribunal, what you call a kangaroo court. How far has that narrative been professed?
It's not a narrative, it's a decision of the Constitutional Court on at least 3 occasions, on at least 4 occasions in the recent past, since 2021, 2022, 2023. The Constitutional Court has been unequivocal in its admonishment of military tribunals purporting to try civilians. Most of these appeals or orders have not been appealed, are valid, enforceable, and the overwhelming dictum is that any trial of civilians before kangaroo military tribunals, which are not courts of judicature, which are not composed by a single judicial officer, are invalid, null and void, ab initio.
How about the fact that Dr. Kiiza Besigye has been a former, soldier?
He retired. When you retire, you become a civilian.
Aren't you an ex-serviceman? Aren't you really still under the registration of the UPDF? You can even be recalled back to serve.
No, that doesn't make you a soldier.
Okay. So what was the side of the prosecution in terms of when you pointed out
the prosecution has nothing. They just have a charge sheet, which is null and void. They have a kidnap, an abduction. 2 people they abducted from Kenya illegally, in a breach of the Kenyan law, in a breach of Ugandan constitution, in a breach of the African Charter on Human and People's Rights, in a breach of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, in a breach of the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, and a breach of the United Nations Convention Against Torture, Cruel, Inhuman, and Degrading Treatment. It is shambolic. It is a pot of mess. It's a pile of dirt, what the prosecution has. They have no case, they have sand, they have wind.
Then what you're trying to assert is like it's a persecution that is happening there.
Precisely. This is judicial harassment. This is political persecution. This is Museveni getting back to his rival using the military court as a Trojan horse.
Right. That paints a bizarre picture for the country that we live in.
Yes, it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate that the head of the country, the head of Uganda, is misappropriating public resources for personal wars.
But then if you say that, what is the prosecution saying? Because you're trying to say what they are doing
so
wrong.
Far they have said nothing
because they cannot convict you and remand you twice under useless charges. There should be a basis. What basis are they standing on to say that let's remand him back at least up
impunity.
To 7th?
What their actions are erected on impunity, shamelessness, abduction, and illegality. Nothing useful, nothing legal, nothing constitutional. It's all because they can do it. It's because they are wielding guns. Because we cannot violently stop them from doing the law, but there is no legal basis for any of their actions.
One law lecturer has said the Constitution is a book of lies. That's how he has dubbed it. Generally, what does this speak of the rule of law in Uganda as you speak today? I
think I understand him to have been saying that the picture painted by the constitution is not what we have on ground. So the
It's a book of lies, so
what
you
it
said.
promises is not what is being delivered by the people who are in charge of this country. And there is a gulf between what the constitution says and what the public servant, the leaders, the politicians are doing. That is the context. It is peaceable, and it behoves all Ugandans to rally together, to band together, to be in solidarity, and confront the violators of our constitution and stop them.
Okay. What you've not answered this part B of that particular question. What does this speak to the rule of law that we have in
It
this
undermines
country?
the rule of law. It is inconsistent with the rule of law. It's a negation of rule of law that we are having people occupying offices created by the constitution, but who are shredding the constitution.
So what next that means for the Ugandans out there?
Yeah, the Ugandans,
who look at the law as the only thing.
Ugandans need to fight back using this very law. They should defend this law. The law cannot defend itself. It needs soldiers, citizens like you and me to stand up for it, to live up to the values that
How do we
the
do that,
constitution.
Counsel, how
Run
do
to
we
court,
do that?
run to the streets, raise your voices.
Isn't that like affecting our safety as Ugandans? Aren't you trying to?
Yeah. For how long are you safe now? There is a greater lack of safety in not defending the constitution than defending it. Either way, there are sacrifices to be made, there are inconveniences to be incurred, but you are better off defending the constitution and suffering the consequences than leaving the constitution and defended, and when you are attacked, there is no constitution to help you.
Wow, you're still watching Face the Nation. In this particular case, there is an argument of jurisdiction, and you have raised it in your defense, that this gentleman was picked up in Nairobi, but is being tried in Kampala. How has that played out?
Not the biggest point. The primary point is the wrongful trial of civilians in a military tribunal. If they were attempting that on soldiers, as the disciplinary committee they are, we could talk about any other sort of jurisdiction, but they have no jurisdiction.
Okay.
These are not service offenses, these are not soldiers. So we cannot talk about anything else now before when clear, even on those foundational issues, they have no locus.
So what you're meaning is that before you even talk about the modus operandi and the details, Dr. Besigye is not supposed to be in a military court.
Yeah, no, he's not supposed to be military. No. But because he was abducted, even in a civilian court, he's not supposed to be there. They have nowhere to take him except set him free.
Okay.
Him and Rutare.
They have refused to set him free.
They will set him free finally.
Okay.
You cannot hide an elephant.
It's okay. So 7th January is the date that you are returning to court. What is next in your defense? What next as...
we may not even return to court. We can't be... we shall cross that river once we reach it, but by that time we will have taken a series of actions related to that to mitigate the injustice that is being meted out on our clients.
Do you want to explain some of those measures that you'll be taking?
Yeah, we shall file some suits in the civil courts, either the Constitutional Court, High Court, or even both. And we have also an additional application filed at the East African Court of Justice. So there are a series of legal measures we shall take to ensure that the lack of jurisdiction of military kangaroo tribunals like the General Court Martial is examined in real courts that are imbued with independence, impartiality, and competence.
You talked about the East African Court of Justice. Does that really have anything that it will
It is
do?
up to it to bite, but under
Does
section,
it bite?
Under Section 39, it is empowered to issue interim reliefs, and there would be no better opportunity for it to exercise that jurisdiction than the current incarceration of civilians by Uganda's military junta.
Okay, I want to conclude on some of the issues of the number of these lawyers. Many lawyers. And some people are saying that there is a bit of shining. Everybody wants to affiliate with
What
Dr.
is their
Besigye.
complaint? Why do they not want
It's too much.
lawyers?
You even stand. People don't even have seats where to sit.
Yeah,
in
and what's
court.
the problem?
Can't Eron Kiiza Lukwago and one other person, maybe Counsel Kato
You
to
go and
see
ask
sit
Besigye. That's
and
the
litigate.
question for Besigye to answer. Me, I'm a worker. I've been appointed to work. Besigye has a right to appoint 100 lawyers like Museveni did in 2001 for the Supreme Court. He only needs to afford them or to be attractive to them. It's not an issue. I don't know why people are jealous of Besigye, that he can mobilize these numbers. I don't know why it is an issue for anyone other than Besigye, the ability to raise lawyers. It's not easy to raise lawyers. So if Besigye is capable of raising them, let him exercise his fair trial rights. That's what he needs to defend himself from impunity, from militarism, from the violence of political persecution.
I'm still with Counsel Eron Kiiza, one of the advocates defending Dr. Kiiza Besigye as he is being tried in the General Court Martial. He paints a picture that this is already illegal and something that is unconstitutional, and Dr. Besigye is not supposed to be tried in that particular court martial. Speaking of militarism in this country, for the past, from time we got independence, we've not seen a peaceful transition. We've always had men with guns taking over power. What does that speak to the future? If 40 years down the road, 50, 60 years, we've not yet resolved our issues, how can we move as a country? How is our conscience? Is it clear in terms of our leadership and the quality of military leaders that we have and this culture of militarism generally?
We have an intellectually bankrupt leadership that has run out of ideas and increasing resorts to violence as a means of maintaining its hegemony.
How do we work around such culture and such government, such systems?
More vigilance of the population, more civic awareness, and then civic action.
Where are the council errands, the land elites,
But
the smart people? Why aren't you taking on the leadership in this
the
country?
people discouraging them are those who are complaining about the numbers. We need these numbers, and the more the numbers, the bigger the solidarity, the bigger the talent pool from which to pull human rights lawyers and public interest litigators. So we don't have enough lawyers who are civically educated in Uganda, who are public spirited. And so when a few start showing up, we should encourage them rather than discourage them. And we shouldn't feel shortchanged when they shine. It is okay for people to shine. I don't know why that should be a problem for people.
So, Counsel, some people look at your modus operandi of how you litigate in court, some calling it disrespectful, saying that you are more like your senior Counsel Semakade. In the diction you use, you are disrespectful to judicial officers and some of the people that are in that, what you have dubbed the kangaroo court. What do you have to comment on the choice of words you are using in litigation?
I'm happy you're finally realizing that we are in a kangaroo military tribunal. Welcome on board.
You like to call it that.
And comparisons to the president of the Uganda Law Society are welcome. We overwhelmingly voted him with a mandate to unravel the orthodoxy that was eating up the legal fraternity. My first statement before that military kangaroo tribunal was that it was not going to be business as usual. As I've told you, they are trying to hide an elephant, and it's impossible to hide it. About the demeanor, the language, and the specific insistence that
telling people, sit down.
My colleagues to sit down is that if you cannot heed to politeness, then we have to use alternative means. There are people whose hearing is impaired, and sometimes they show up in court, and you have to speak, to repeat your messages, or even to use a higher than usual tone for them to finally hearken to your message.
That's the only way, because that kind of even inculcated a culture, a word that they say, semakadeism, like there is no decorum. You can still pass over your point without being rude.
Yeah, I mean, if you're a lawyer, you know how to pass over your points. You are not waiting on pundits to advise you on how to go about that.
What do you think about the chairperson of the General Court Martial? Because some of my viewers have a sentiment that you disrespect him and you don't see a bit of quality of, of being a leader of the General Court Martial and, sitting and presiding over such a tribunal.
I hope you're not trying to put me on a collision course with the chairman of that tribunal. We have a lot of respect for him. It's just that his own judge advocate is trying to undermine him by saying that he's the one who tells them what to do. Just today, he said that his advice is binding and final, that there is nothing they can do, and we came to assert the independence of that tribunal. So we are in the defense of the tribunal to do work within its scope, to discipline soldiers.
Are you satisfied with the way Freeman is doing that job that you're saying?
I'm not satisfied with anything that's happening there because it's invalid, null, and void ab initio. That is not just a phrase I'm reading off my tongue. It is the order of the Constitutional Court in the Amon Byarugaba case. It is the same jurisprudence in the Kabazuguruka case, in Lieutenant Ambrose case, in the Semuju case. 4 court decisions of the Constitutional Court.
But are they pending in the
those
Supreme
proceedings? The sooner those soldiers listen to the courts of judicature, the better.
What did the Supreme Court pronounce on those cases?
Nothing. They have not pronounced anything except in the case of Kabazuguruka, they stayed execution.
Okay. Lastly, what's your last message to Uganda and everybody who's trusting you? I'm seeing people on X, social media, everybody praising Counsel Eron Kiiza for a job well done. What's your message to all those people who are behind you?
I appreciate them. I appreciate their prayers. I appreciate their support. But I also appeal to them. They need to fundraise for this cause so that we have enough resources to confront these people. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much, Counsel Eron Kiiza.
Most welcome.
Of course, thank you so much for watching Face the Nation. My name is Edgar Mathew Karuhanga. I have been with one of the counsels and defenders of Dr. Kiiza Besigye, Counsel Eron Kiiza. He has been painting a picture of what is happening in the General Court Martial as Dr. Kiiza Besigye is undergoing, trials for possessing of weapons that were found with him in Nairobi, Kenya, but also mobilizing for resources to overthrow a sitting government in countries like Greece and other European countries. We shall wait for the 7th of January, that is next year, 2025, to what is going to happen in this particular case. Is Dr. Kiiza Besigye going to be tried in a civilian court? Is he going to continue in what he has called a kangaroo court? That and much more. We shall be looking out for it at, right here on Face the Nation and Digitalk TV. Keep watching Digitalk TV for more programming. My name is Edgar Mathew Karuhanga. Good evening and God bless Uganda.
At first, we hit your gadgets with our state-of-the-art digitalized mobile studio with the debate on the road behind the wheels. Later, we launched our magnificent studios located on Plot 1A, Sewagude Close, Lukulinanganda, Machindye, Kampala, where we bring to you our must-watch shows like The Mighty Drive, Monday to Friday, 8 a.m., Hotline, Mondays, 7 p.m. As for legal matters, Twins at Bar, Tuesdays, 11 a.m. Wednesdays, 6 p.m. is Afro-Caribbean Link, where we connect Africa with the Caribbean. Voltage on Thursdays, 7 p.m. featuring a youthful panel. Interface with Dr. Kiiza Besigye every Friday, 12 p.m. with his call to action against injustices. Snap Talk, Saturdays, 6 p.m. with the trio. A must-watch, The Political Dice, Sundays, 8 p.m. with the duo that never stammers, and so much more. Watch us live on all our social media platforms. We are the Alternative Digitalk. Real issues, real talk.
The Alternative Digitalk. Real issues, real talk.